Good to see you, Ruth. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's TCS New York City Marathon training panel on race day logistics. I know everyone's quite excited to be here with 2 or so weeks to go. Welcome to all those of you who are here in person. Also welcoming all the folks that are joining us online, whether that is through our Facebook page or our YouTube page for New York Roadrunners. Going through some logistical information before we start the panel for today. So assistive listening systems, you have heard this at every panel. If anybody is in need of one, you did not request one, you can see my colleagues to my right at Bib Pickup, and they can help you with those. We do have accessible and gender-neutral restrooms, which are around the corner behind us to my right. There will be closed captioning available on the recorded video that will be up on YouTube. Please just note that the closed captions are auto-generated, so they are not 100% accurate. Sometimes they are comical. And a little bit more logistical information. As I mentioned, this is being live streamed on our YouTube page as well as the YouTube page for New York Roadrunners. If you have any questions that come up, just hold on to them. We will get to your questions towards the second half of the panel tonight. That goes for all those who are here in person, as well as the folks that are joining us on the live stream on YouTube. Coach Ben is monitoring that chat, so we will get to those questions as well. And we will give preference to the folks that are here in person, so yay you. Some of you might be wondering who I am. Some of you have seen me already here in person. My name is Saman Wakad. I am the Diversity, Equity, and Social Responsibility Specialist at New York Roadrunners. I like to say that I'm the non-expert on the panel who gets to ask questions to the experts. Providing some physical descriptions for folks who are either joining us here in person or online or watching the recording. Folks who might be low vision or blind. I am a South Asian woman. I am wearing glasses. I'm wearing a navy blue fleece with the New York Roadrunners and New Balance logos on the front. And I'm wearing a brown/bronze headscarf. And now we will move on to our panelists. Some of you may have seen Coach Steve Mura. Coach Steve and I work together. Coach Steve is an RRCA and V.02 certified coach, where he has been working at New York Roadrunners, coaching runners around the world, virtually and in person, for 9 years. He's completed the TCS New York City Marathon multiple times with a marathon PR of 3 hours and 3 minutes and a half PR of 1 hour and 24 minutes. Steve leads the New York Roadrunners pace team, and this year he will be pacing the 4-hour group for the race.
Thank you. My name's Steve. I have no hair on my head. It's all on my face with a killer mustache and a blue shirt that says Coach.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. And next we have Joe. Okay, so I should have asked Joe how to pronounce his last name because we call him Joe G in the office. So Joe Giarratano.
Nailed it, Summon. Nailed it. Very good.
Joe Giarratano and I also work together at New York Roadrunners. Joe is the Director of Runner Services. Joe has been a lifelong runner and joined New York Roadrunners in September 2022. Prior to New York Roadrunners, Joe worked in various customer success and account management roles at tech startups for 15 years. He is incredibly passionate about making sure our runners have the best possible experience at all of our events. When not working, he can be seen around the Upper West Side with his wife and almost 3-year-old daughter. He wants you to know this. He has a borderline coffee drinking problem. So if you have the same problem, you can ask him about it.
Yeah, I'm down to 3 cups a day, so we're getting there. My name's Joe Giarratano. I have a beard that is shorter than Steve's. I have a mustache that is less cool than Steve's. And I'm wearing a light blue shirt that says New York Roadrunners on it.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe G. So we are going to start with the expo. With a show of hands, let's see how many folks here are running the marathon for the first time. Okay, awesome. And how many folks are running it for the second time? Great. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay, so we have
the winner.
20th, 10th? Awesome. So about half the room here consists of first-time marathon runners. So some of you may or may not have been to the expo. So that's what we'll start the chat with. Talking about the expo, which will be before the race, obviously. So Joe, talk to us about the expo. Specifically, talk to us about the bib pickup process and what can runners do at the expo.
Yeah, sure thing. So really excited to see a bunch of first-time runners here. It's going to be the best day you've had. It's going to be really exciting. It's going to be really fun. The fun starts at the expo. When you walk in there, it's going to start to get real. You're going to start to feel like, wow, like this is happening. The expo will be the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before race day. So that's November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The Thursday and Friday, we're there 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., so pretty much all day. The Saturday, we're there, I want to say it's 12 to 5, I think. So 10 to 5, 10 to 5, so slightly less hours, but you have plenty of opportunity to pick up your bib. Many of you have probably already selected a time slot that you plan to go pick up your bib. Good news there, while we close baggage and transportation selection options, you can update the time you're coming to the expo right until before the expo starts, so no pressure there. If you have a meeting that comes up at work that you can't miss, you can change your expo time slot. Don't worry about it. If anyone's not familiar with the Javits Center, I think everyone here in New York, or a lot of people in New York probably are. If you're watching online, you're coming from out of town, it's all the way on the west side of Manhattan in Midtown. So if you end up, say, at Penn Station, you're going to walk a few avenues west towards the Hudson River. The closest subway stop is the 7 train. That stops at 34th Street, Hudson Yards. So if you want to pop any of that into a GPS, if you're heading over there, when you get to the expo itself, when you get to the Javits Center, it's really easy to go from there into the experience where you're picking up your bib. You're going to walk in, you're going to look straight ahead, and you're just going to see a huge, massive row of desks with numbers on them. You're going to want to head to the number range that corresponds to the number on your bib. So if you have bib 2000 and you see a desk that says bibs 0 to 3000, that's the desk that you're going to. That is where the majority of people will be going to get their bib, is that general bib pickup desk. Also, when you walk in, you're going to see a desk specific for our athletes with disability, our AWD athletes. Right next to that, you're going to see a desk for our Team for Kids runner, which is New York Roadrunners' in-house charity partner that we do to benefit a lot of different things here for the city in New York. So you'll see that as well. And then you'll keep going. You'll see that general bib pickup area. Across from that is going to be a runner support desk. So if you have questions, concerns, if there's anything here tonight that you forget to ask or we forget to cover, that's a good place to go. Right next to that is a desk with transportation assistance. So if you need assistance getting to the race in the morning, we'll be there for you. After you do all that, you'll keep going. You'll be able to grab your T-shirt. Then you're going to head through the New Balance store. They're going to have all the official 2023 TCS New York City Marathon gear. After that, you can walk our expo floor. I'll say this about a lot of things tonight. Just whatever time slot you select, get there early. Give yourself time to enjoy the experience. It's really cool in there. We have a lot of really cool, exciting, in some way or another, running-related vendors that are going to be on the expo floor. You can go around. You'll probably be able to sample some food. It should be really fun. So, yeah, I would say that is a good overview of the expo.
Great. Thank you for that, Joe. Now, does everybody remember the path that Joe just described? If you don't, it's okay. It's okay. We'll have staff and we'll have volunteers throughout. So that was a really good overview, Joe. So Steve, what can runners gain as far as last-minute tips and tricks at the expo? And also, what should a runner's training look like the week of the marathon?
So start off the week of the marathon. A lot of people will be doing what I call shakeout runs. It's your finish time. It's not going to really be affected that last week. It's easy runs of 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and then finish with strides if you want to. If you don't, you know what? Be conservative and go for a walk. That last week of training, you can hurt yourself more than help yourself. So always think about, how is this run going to benefit me? Is it to shake out my legs? Is it to get the body moving again? Is it to feel like what marathon pace feels like? You know what? Then do 30 minutes of that, 10 minutes of that, but no more. Walking also counts. If you're from watching this online and you're from out of town, you're visiting, you're going to kind of walk around New York City for a while, that also counts. So that Thursday, Friday, visit the expo, walk around, that also shakes out the legs, but those shakeout runs, 2 to 3 miles, is kind of what we're looking for the week of. If you're doing cross training, you can kind of cut those out that week of, I don't want you any extra tired upper body as well leading into the race. We're just tapering all over. And then the expo, I think Joe really covered it. There's a lot to do there. We do course strategies. The coaches will do course strategies every hour on the hour at the expo in the running lab. So come on by. We're really going to break down the course every mile, every kilometer, turn, left, rights, gel stations. So you can check that out. We have pace bands. So if you're looking for goal time, we'll have pace bracelets you can wear on your wrist. And it'll tell you what per mile every split should be, which is kind of cool. One side is miles, one's kilometers. There'll be vendors, as Joe said, from everyone out there. But the rule of thumb is, and I'm going to probably go over this later, is nothing new. You can look at it, you can maybe buy it, but wear it after the race, or you do that new gel or gummy or whatever it is after the race. Nothing new. So feel free to purchase it, but if it's new to you, don't wear it between that now, even now, to the race. Nothing is new leading up to the race.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Steve. So we talked about a little bit about the expo. You can also make it a fun activity with your family, your friends. You can go and hang out, have a great time there as you pick up your bib. Now let's move on to the start and Staten Island. So the 2023 TCS New York City Marathon is going to see over 50,000 runners. The majority of those folks will be taking either the Staten Island Ferry or a Midtown bus. So Joe, we'll start with you. We assign runners a transportation time, and we advise runners to stick to those times on race day. Can you talk to us about why that is important?
Yeah, so this is very important. Getting 50,000 people to Staten Island to start the marathon is a big operation, as you can imagine. If you live here in the city, you know Staten Island doesn't really participate in the public transportation system the way the rest of the boroughs do. So there's a lot of logistics in getting there. You have two options, like someone said. You have the Midtown bus, which leaves from New York Public Library. If anyone's watching here from out of town, pop New York Public Library into your GPS on race morning, and you'll see the whole operation when you get there. It'll be very easy to find. Or you can take a ferry out of Whitehall Terminal. If you're taking the ferry, if you pop Whitehall Terminal into your GPS, that'll get you where you need to be. The reason why it's so important that you show up for the time you select, there's a couple of reasons. One is that we specifically offer options that correspond to your start time. And we know it's going to take about 90 minutes to get to the start area, whichever transportation option you choose. So if we know you're starting at 9, 10 a.m., we're going to want you to get on, say, a ferry or a bus that gives you enough time to get to the start area. If people start kind of going rogue, we run the risk of a ferry or a bus getting too crowded. Then they have to wait for the next one, which means the people that come after them have to wait for the next one. And that can cause a chain reaction of long lines, people having to wait a little longer than they want to. Then you're a little stressed out, you're a little panicked, you get to the start area, you're a little stressed out, you're a little panicked. 26.2 miles is enough stress on the body. You don't need to get there already stressed out and panicked. So it's important for your own race day experience that you take the transportation you selected, but it's also important for your fellow runners' race day experience that you take the transportation you selected. You'll have a smoother experience, they'll have a smoother experience, and everyone will be very happy, very excited, and very energized when the race starts. So yeah, I think that covers it.
Thank you, Joe. And going off of that, you talked to us a little bit about the logistics of moving this many runners to Staten Island. What can runners expect on each of those modes of transportation?
Yeah, so circling back a little bit to those couple of points, the Midtown bus, the Staten Island ferry, both options take you about 90 minutes. I don't want to make any false promises. If you're on an earlier option, maybe it'll be a little bit quicker than that. But, you know, it's just buses really heading over the Verrazano Bridge in the morning. So you're going to get there. Both are easy enough. Like you get to the bus, like I said, you're going to pop in New York Public Library in your GPS. You're going to see lines queuing. You're going to see buses everywhere. You're going to see NYRR shirts, NYRR volunteer shirts. So we make it really easy. All you got to do is get there. We'll get you on a bus. You can relax, chill out. Next thing you know, you're at the start area on the Staten Island side. Staten Island ferry, pretty similar. There's just 2 steps instead of 1 step. You're going to get on the ferry. The trip across the Hudson to Staten Island is about a half hour. And then once you get off the ferry, walk out into the terminal, you'll start seeing those NYRR branded shirts and jackets everywhere and people telling you where to go. There'll be signage. So I would say either option, don't stress, don't worry. Just get to those initial locations, and we have a lot of people to help you the rest of the way. When you get off the ferry, you'll then get on a bus, and that bus will travel through Staten Island over to Fort Wadsworth, where you'll be in your start village. So yeah, easy enough. Honestly, they're both really easy, really simple. Just get to those initial locations, and you'll be good.
Joe, are there bathrooms on these buses?
I'm
asking the important questions.
Yeah, there are not bathrooms on the buses. However, there will be bathrooms right before you get on the bus. So this will be a theme through everything I say. I said get to the expo on the earlier side of whatever time slot you select. If you selected a 6 a.m. bus, get there at 5:45. If you selected an 8 a.m. ferry, get there at 7:45. Just leave yourself time so nothing feels overwhelming, and you have time to do things like use the bathroom.
Thank you so much for that, Joe. So, folks, cut down the stress of race morning and get there not just on time, before time. Try to stick to your transportation times, please. So, Coach Steve, as a coach, you tell athletes don't race before the race. Now, how does getting to the start line on race day affect their overall experience of the race? I think Joe already touched on it, but from a coaching
perspective. You stole my thunder. It actually does matter. It's also worth repeating. Your medal when you finish is going to say 26. I don't think it actually says distance. It's going to say your marathon finisher. So any miles you have to sprint to the start line because you were late, you missed your bus, you missed your ferry, you're going to be in another wave, that's not going to be added on. You're not going to get 2 medals as you cross that finish line because you added miles for the day. You want to give yourself as little stress as possible. You're going to be stressed, but you want to avoid as much stress as possible. It's going to be a stressful day. It's going to be a long day for us, guys. You're going to be up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever time it is. You're going to almost do a marathon before the marathon because you have to get to that start line, which, as Joe said, it's pretty easy, but there's logistics into it. Like, you don't want to miss a step in that. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the Bronx or something. So I like to tell people, plan out a few days before. If you're local, you kind of have a leg up on people. You know what the one train is like going south. You know that is. So if you're not local, maybe if you're here early, dry run that. What is it like taking the one train all the way to the ferry? Where is the ferry at? Where is it actually? Where is the public library? Maybe check that out beforehand. So you have less stress. You can control what you can control going into it all. So figure out what you need to do to be successful. A lot of it just comes down how we're mentally preparing for it. So when you get to Staten Island, you can say, all right, I'm here on time. I'd rather you be in Staten Island and say, Steve and Joe, I'm really bored, but I'm here, than panicking on the ferry and say, I should have listened to Joe. He was right. So try your best to, once again, get there and be as relaxed as possible. You will be stressed at some points. That's part of the experience of it all. But try your best to avoid those stressful points throughout the day.
Okay, thank you. So we talked about getting to Staten Island. Now we're on Staten Island. And before the cannon goes off, runners are relaxing, if we can call it that, at Fort Wadsworth on Staten Island. So related to that, Coach Steve, what do you advise athletes do before the race?
This is a question we get a lot. What, you're hanging out a few hours beforehand sometimes on the island. What do you do? And it's all about relaxing, as you said, as much as you can, but staying warm. Now, we can't predict the weather, so most of the average temperature is 54 degrees high for the day. So that means in those corrals, in the start village at 8 a.m., high 40s, mid 40s. So you're going to want to layer up. This means go to Goodwill and buy something that you can kind of put over your race shirt, buy some sweatpants, get a jacket, something you don't care about, and you can donate that before you start running, and that'll kind of keep you warm. We have Goodwill bins on the sides. You can toss those. After you figured out how you're going to stay warm, it's what are you going to do? Some people will just walk around and hang out with people. That's how they stay loose. That's how they stay relaxed. Some will bring a book that they don't, or a magazine that they don't want to carry with them because you can't bring it with you on the course. So maybe a book you're almost done with, a magazine. If you have a music or a podcast you listen to, as long as you need your phone, like a battery charger or something. It could just be talking to other runners. We have people from so many different countries here and so many different stories that you can also just talk to other runners and see, hey, what's your goal? Where are you from? How's your training going? Tell me about those races you ran before. I find some people are very quiet at the start area. They want to sit in silence and meditate, while other people relax by talking to others. So it really depends, gravitate to what you want to do. We have a lot of teams out there that like to congregate with each other, so that also works. So whatever really you can do to relax And as Joe said, give yourself extra times because the bathroom lines there, they can be kind of long. So give yourself extra time to get there, to go to the bathroom, to get in those corrals early. Less stress is best on race morning.
Thank you, Coach Steve. So, Joe, runners are on Staten Island at Fort Wadsworth, relaxing. Can you talk to folks, especially those who are running for the first time, about what amenities are available before the race and how they can find their corral and wave?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Summon. So Steve mentioned, I don't want to get to the start area too early. I don't want to be bored. The start area is far from boring. The start area is super cool. There's so much to do. Anyone here, I think like half the room said it's their first time. Anyone here who it's not your first TCS New York City Marathon will probably vouch for this. There's a lot to do in there. And again, it's really impressive. We call it a village for a reason. You get there and it feels as though you are in a village that has been constructed specifically for this event. So the whole start area consists of 3 villages, which corresponds to the 3 different colors you could have on your bib. You're either going to be blue, orange, or pink. So an easy way to keep your stress levels low when you get there, you know from your bib, I'm pink. There'll be signage everywhere. Head for the pink village. In every village, we have the same amenities. We have stuff to eat, stuff to drink. We have Flow alkaline spring water. We have Gatorade products, Dunkin' Donuts, coffee, bagels. There'll be SIS endurance products. We have a lot of different things there for you, so you don't have to worry about being hungry, being thirsty. Find the color, look at the color on your bib, head for that village. That's where your start corral is going to be as well. And then, like Steve said, from there, it's your choice. You can get a bagel, get a coffee. You can just kind of roam around, take in the vibes, check things out. Once you know where your start village is, maybe you want to go see what the other color looks like. I can say they all have the same amenities. So if you're like, mine's out of donuts, I want to go get a donut. I don't want to veer into my coaching advice again. It's probably not a great idea anyway before the race. But all the food, all the amenities, it's all the same in all the different colors. So you don't have to worry about searching around for anything. And yeah, you can do that. You can throw a cheap towel down, relax. You can take a nap. You can chat.
Set an alarm, though, so you don't miss your start.
Probably set an alarm, but I would like to think we'd have someone that would wake you up before we close the thing down. So that's an option. And then I'll give some specifics here. So if anyone at home wants to take a note, if you want to make a mental note, it's a good idea. The corrals open before your start time a fairly significant amount of time. So if you're in wave 1, your corral, which is kind of like a holding area between the start village and the start line, if you're in wave 1, that's going to open an hour before your start time, right? So the start time for wave 1 is 9:10 a.m. Your corral is going to open at 8:10 a.m. I would make your way there as close to 8:10 a.m. as possible. That way you have plenty of time. Use the bathroom, get your bearings, find a good place to sit down if you'd like. Waves 2 and 3, the corrals open 35 minutes before the start time. And waves 4 and 5, the corrals open 30 minutes before your start time. So I know my first TCS New York City Marathon, I was a little caught off guard by that. I didn't realize you wanted to get somewhere more than 5 or 10 minutes before you were starting. So get your bearings and then just know there'll be announcements being made. It shouldn't catch you off guard. And now that you know you're here, you're watching online, you'll know what those announcements mean, and you head for your corral. Hopefully that's not too much information, but yeah, it's a good idea.
But you missed the most important part is we're going to have therapy dogs out there.
I forgot the therapy dogs. Yeah, 3rd year in a row, therapy dogs. So if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling overwhelmed, go pet some dogs. It's a nice little thing.
They all have those, right?
They all have, yes. Every color has therapy dogs, so no one's getting snubbed.
Find me there.
Yeah.
He won't actually be running. Joe, thank you so much for that detailed description. For folks who may not have caught everything that Joe said, the video will go on YouTube, so folks can always look back and find the information that you shared. Coach Steve, going back a little bit to what you have talked about and a lot of others on these panels have talked about, as a coach, you tell your runners that nothing new on race day, right? So in regards to them being on Staten Island, waiting for the race to start, talk to us about what that means in this context and how runners should dress for the race.
Yeah, I like to say this line, like if you haven't ate it, drank it, thought about it, dreamed about it, if your best friend hasn't recommended it to you during your training, You're not doing it. Nothing new on race day is a serious mantra that everyone, even elite athletes, will look at and stick to that. We have a lot of runners that will wear that race shirt, that participation shirt they get. But you know what? You haven't done a run in that participation shirt. You don't know how it's going to hit your arms, your back. So wear something that you're used to. And this does come down to race morning. So obviously you're new. You can wear something new, obviously, to stay warm in. But everything you have on is tried, true, and tested. So you can get that stuff at the expo, but wear it after the race. You're going to see also people in the crowd maybe having a gel right before the race. And, oh, hey, what is that? Can I have that? It's like, no. Stick to what you did in your training. If you haven't had that gel, don't take it. Joe mentioned we're going to have science and sports out there. If you haven't had that, you can maybe take one and save it for another training cycle, but nothing new on race day. It's the biggest way people can mess up their races. I had a course strategies today with Coach Ben back there, and he was telling a story about he was running a marathon, and he saw an orange slice out there during the race, and he grabbed this orange slice, and how harmful can an orange be, right? Messed up his race. You can ask him about it later. Messed up his whole race, just a simple orange. So make sure you're used to what you're having out there, and you practice it over and over. So even from here on out, nothing new going into your training.
Awesome, thank you. So we talked about transportation. We talked about getting to Staten Island, being on Staten Island. The cannon has gone off. The race has started. That's the main reason why we're here, right? To talk about the actual race. So let's talk about it. Coach Steve, we'll start with you. From a coaching perspective, how should athletes run this course? Give us a brief course strategy.
Run it with joy. No, I'd say so. It's the course. So a lot of people tell us it's so hilly, it's so hard, it's the most challenging major out there. You know, think this course has 3 hills. It really has 3 hills, and the first one's invisible. And the first one, the Verrazano Bridge, has the highest climb you're going to make all day. But I promise you, those first-time runners, you're not going to even notice you're on a hill. You're going to be so excited. There's going to be water cannons to the sides of your helicopters in the sky. People going cheering your name. You're not going to notice the biggest hill of the day. By mile 2, only 2 more hills left. Mile 16 is the second big hill, guys. That's one you will probably notice because it is a Queensboro Bridge. So it's also kind of ominous. There's no one cheering for you. It's dark. You're under the bridge, so you're on the lower side of it. All you hear is pitter-patter of runners behind you or next to you. So, but you're also still going nice and easy. You're not going race pace at that part of the course. So you can think about this course, the halfway being mile 20, not 13. Mile 20 is halfway for marathon. So when you get to mile 20, you can say, okay, should I go faster? How am I adjusting? So at mile 16, we're still nice and conservative. If Joe and I are running next to each other, we should be able to have a conversation if we're running next to each other at mile 16. So while mile 16 will be hard, you're not going to make it any more harder by going out too fast because you have more hills in the latter half of this course. And the third and final hill is one I didn't know about the first time I ran this course in 2010. No one told me about it. Was mile 23 on 5th Avenue. It sneaks up on you because it's not a bridge. If you went to run it right now, you'd say, that's not a hill, but it is a big hill at mile 23 marathon. So just know it's there. You adjust your pace, you'll go slower, running by effort. What your arms do, your legs will follow, so use your arms on the hill. When I ran this the first time, my confidence just dropped. I thought I wouldn't finish the marathon. I didn't know I was on a hill. So just knowledge that hill is there will help you out. After that, it's pretty much downhill or flat until you get to the finish line. We have a little speed bump, I call it, at the end because we make it hard in New York City. So it's a little speed bump in Central Park that us locals know here, but keep in mind, it's kind of like the Chicago Marathon. There's a little lip at the end there. You'll have that to finish it up. So we will also have course strategies that every hour, way more in depth than that at the expo. So if you want to see more in depth, we'll go over that. But that's kind of a really big overview of the course. 3 hills, everything else, pretty flat. Awesome. Anyone tells you differently, they're wrong.
Coach Steve is lying. There's another hill called the Willis Avenue Bridge at mile 20 that I'm personally 0 for 2 against. So just
personal vendettas aside.
Yeah. Personal defeats aside. 3 big hills, 1 little one at mile 20. So make a note.
Thank you for that. As Coach Steve said, there will be the course strategy sessions at the expo will be a lot more detailed. You'll actually be able to get to talk to our coaches as well, ask them any questions that you have. So Joe, folks are running, 50,000 plus folks are running through the boroughs of New York City, the best city in the world. How can friends and family see their runners, their family, their friends running the course? And as you tell us about that, also tell us what amenities there will be for runners along the course.
Yeah, again, to everyone here that it's going to be your first time doing this event, it's unreal. The vibe is so good, so fun. For friends and family, I would say 2 things you want to keep in mind. One is tell them, make sure they download the mobile app. That's really important because that's where they can track you. So they'll be able to see where you're on the course. They'll be able to see when you're getting close. They'll be able to grab your splits every 5K, if you're speeding up, if you're slowing down. It gets crowded out there, so they'll want to know about where you are. So the mobile app is going to be your friends and family's best friend when they want to see you. The other thing I would say is have at least a loose plan. Have them tell you, I'm going to be at mile 10, mile 17. I'm going to be on the east or the west side of the street. Make sure you know approximately where they're going to be and make sure they know approximately where you're going to be from the mobile app. So I would say those two things are how you can make sure you get to see your friends and family on the course, which is super important. You're going to want that love. You're going to want that support when you're out there. We have amenities all over the place. So starting at mile 3, there's a hydration station every mile from 3 to 25, minus a couple of miles in like the early middle there, but it's almost every mile from 3 to 25. We'll have low alkaline spring water, and we'll have lemon lime Gatorade. So that'll be anywhere you could possibly need it. We'll also have medical tents every mile from 3 to 25. So hopefully not too many people need those. If you do, if you're cramping up, that's what they're there for. Pop in, get yourself right. It's a long day. You'd rather spend 10 minutes there than 2 hours suffering. So pop into the medical tent if you need it. And then we'll also have the SIS endurance gels. They'll be at miles 12 and 18, I believe. Feel free to spot check me on the website. I think it's miles 12 and 18 that they'll be at. That's correct. Thank you, Coach Steve. We'll also have bananas at mile 21 and 23. If this is your first marathon ever in your life, you'd be surprised at how badly you're going to want that banana when you get to mile 21 or mile 23. And the people that are handing out the bananas are super dedicated. They will run out and chase you down and make sure you get your banana if you need it. So, yeah, there's a lot out there. There's really pretty much everything you can need.
Sounds like brunch. Just sounds like a good brunch for me.
That's all it is. It's just a mobile brunch.
Mobile brunch. I like that.
Awesome. Thank you both for that. So folks have run through the boroughs of New York City. Now we are getting to the finish line. So I'm sure a lot of folks here, those watching us on the live stream, those watching this recording later, have been dreaming about the finish line for months, right? Depending on however long folks have been training for the marathon. So, Joe, we'll start with you. Can you explain to us what runners can get after crossing that finish line?
Yeah. Enjoy the finish line. Soak it in. Put your arms up. Really enjoy what you just accomplished because it's incredible what you're going to accomplish that day. So really enjoy it. Enjoy getting that medal put around your neck. That's the first thing that's going to happen. If you haven't seen the medals yet, we just put the one up for this year over here. So go give it a peek, unless you want to be surprised. But go give it a peek. They're really cool. So you'll get your medal. You're going to finish on 67th Street, approximately, inside of Central Park. And then you're going to walk about 10 blocks north to 77th Street before you exit. So one thing I would say back to that family and friends point is I think the first time someone does the TCS New York City Marathon, a common thing is your friends and family will start worrying about you because they'll see that you finished, and then 20 minutes will go by, and they'll be wondering, is everything okay? They don't have their phone. Are they in a medical tent? It's going to take you a little bit to make that approximately half-mile walk. So it'll probably be 20 or 30 minutes before you regroup with them after you finish. So you'll probably want to give them that heads up so that they're not stressing out. So you'll get your medal. You'll start heading north up to 77th Street. Once you exit the park, you'll start heading south again if you have to pick up a bag. So those bags will be a couple blocks south. It's 71st and 70th Street that the bags are going to be on. And then you'll keep going south, and you can reunite with your family. It's between 66th and 63rd Street, and there'll be signs with a range of letters. So if you want to tell your family to utilize your last name, your first name, whatever's easy for all of you, that's fine. But you can plan what street you're going to meet them on based on a specific letter, which generally people will use their name.
Thank you, Joe. And if you forget any of this, we'll have volunteers and staff throughout that can help direct folks, right?
Yep. And there'll also be recovery bags. So you'll get bags with water and apples and Gatorade and everything else that you might need.
Awesome. So more stuff. Coach Steve, from a coaching perspective, runners are going to be feeling a lot of different kinds of feelings, right? Can you expand a little bit on this?
One of my favorite places to be in New York City, mine is running the race, is actually the finish line. I try to hang out there. If I'm not running the race, I stay there almost all day and see runners come in and see the range of emotions. You got people that are super excited. You got some people are ecstatic, but some are sad. Some are also overwhelmed. Maybe they hit the time, didn't hit the time. They're sad because I find people are sad also because they just accomplished a big goal. And what's next in their lives? So there is it happens usually later, a few weeks later, but you finish this big thing and you kind of have a little, emotions kind of go down because what's next? You do this big thing. But all the emotions are normal. They're all real emotions, and take stock of them. You're most likely going to be really excited. You finish it, especially first time. It doesn't matter what the watch shows. I say put the watch aside for the first marathon. It's going to be your fastest marathon. As you cross that line, as Joe said, that medal is one of the best feelings in the world. It could be your 20th marathon, and having that medal handed to you is a priceless moment. So soak in that moment. We'll have photographers out there. Marathon Photo will be out there taking your photo for you. So really soak that in. And having that family reunion or family, wherever you can meet someone afterwards, you can go, as family reunion is great. I go to a coffee shop or a bar or a restaurant, anywhere like outside the frozen zone, and have my wife will have my hamburger ready for me and my drink already ordered for me, so it's already set up for me. My seat's already there. So whatever works for you is great. So really just soak in those emotions. This is a celebration of your training that you've done. And so this is actually just, the hard part's over. I'll tell all my athletes, the hard part's really over, because come November 5th, you're really just putting that all out there for one last time. We all done long runs before. This is just another long run, really. It's another long run to add on to another one. Just a little bit farther than the last one, but we've all done a little bit longer than before. So think of it like that. Those emotions are real, and soak them in.
Awesome. And should runners continue to wear their medals after race day?
Yes. Wear it all day.
What is it, a week?
Yeah, you
Sunday,
have to wear it to
Monday.
work. You have to wear it to work the day you get back to work.
Yeah,
it's very important. Let the haters hate. Wear the medal. That's my advice.
Before I started working here, I would see runners, and I would just be congratulating random people because they're wearing a medal, and it's pretty amazing. I think the city's quite alive on that day. 50,000 people running the marathon, people walking around with their medals. It's very exciting, and you're going to be among those people, right?
You kind of also get a free seat in the subway with that medal, because people are going to say, "Oh, you should sit down. You ran the marathon. You can sit down in the subway."
Okay, folks, so we are finishing up with our prepared questions for the panelists here. We're going to move into questions from the audience in just a minute. For those who are here, Coach Ben will go around in a minute. You can raise your hand, let us know if you're running your first marathon and what your question is. Please keep it brief. And for the folks that are online, Coach Ben will be monitoring the chat. I just want to get one final piece of advice from Coach Steve and Joe, whoever wants to go first, on a final piece of advice that you'd like to give our runners.
Can I give two?
You can give two.
Okay.
I got none then, right?
My first practical advice is just err on the side of 15 minutes early. Set your alarm early. Get your transportation option early. Get to your appropriate start village early. Just keep yourself stress-free that morning and err on the side of 15 minutes early. My second advice, because I want to be a coach so bad, I'm veering into Coach Steve's lane again. Throw some high fives in Brooklyn. You're going to have a ton of energy. You're going to be fresh. It's the first half of the race. If you're going too fast to throw a high five, that probably means you're pacing yourself poorly. Just enjoy it. The atmosphere in Brooklyn is off the charts. There's a ton of crowd support, so have fun and throw some high fives. That's my advice.
From a coach, my advice is don't high five, because you're going to waste energy out there. So no, I was kidding. Enjoy. It's. I kind of said it before, but this is a celebration of what you've done. So err on the side of also going out easy. Err on the side of just enjoying the moment. You can always go faster later. Like, you can always pick up pace at mile 20. But if you go out too fast, you can't really make up that time later. Your tank is empty. So really err on the side of, whether it's 15 minutes or err on the side of, I'm just going to take a little bit easy on the first few miles through Brooklyn. I'm going to spend time high-fiving because I'm going to go a little bit easier out there. High-five those kids. Really take photos out there on the course if you're bringing a phone with you. Really, I've ran it multiple times, and every time I do it, I get chills. It's an amazing day. And just remember, it's not good luck, because you don't need luck to what you're about to do. You've done the hard work, so luck is not needed in the next 2 weeks. What you're doing is already going to happen. You're already going to do it. You're already going to hit your time. So it's more the confidence right now and just knowing that you've done it. You put the hard work in. And as long as you keep your focus on that finish line or your race strategy, you're going to be fine out there.
Great pieces of advice. So let's move on to Q&A from the audience. Do we have any folks in the audience who have a question? Coach Ben, we have a hand right there in the middle.
Where's our first hand? Right here? This gentleman, here you go. Hello, thank you. This will be my first marathon. And as far as race day, I have not chosen a transportation option. Can I just show up at the ferry?
So your best bet is when you go to the expo to get your bib. If you remember there's all the bib desks where you're going to pick up your bib. Across from that, there'll be desks that say runner support and transportation. Stop by the transportation desk, and we'll help you as best as we can. Yep.
So good idea to set that up before and not just show up day of.
Yeah.
The transportation time.
Yeah, you don't want to show up day of. Stop by at the expo, and we'll make sure you have a plan in place there. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. And we have a question in the back. Yeah.
Hi, it's also my first time. I heard that we can get our medals engraved. Is that true? And how does that work?
Yeah, yes, you can. So there'll be what we call the pavilion. It'll be next to the Tavern on the Green. So for anyone watching who's not in New York, you probably don't know what the Tavern on the Green is. It's in Central Park. There's an entrance on 67th Street and Central Park West. If you put Tavern on the Green into Google Maps or your GPS, it'll be easy to find. Right outside of that, it's called the Pavilion. We'll be doing medal engraving there the Monday after the race. We call it Marathon Monday. We'll be there for 11 hours, so pretty much all day. And then there'll be medal engraving right here at the NYRR Run Center Tuesday and Wednesday. So you'll have 3 days that you can get your medal engraved with us after the race.
I gotta say, like you said before, we build a village as a start line. We also build our own building at the finish line, which is kind of wild. Yeah. It's a big endeavor.
Okay, we have one right here from Ruth.
This is Ben's workout today. He hasn't got a running yet, so we're just making sure he's trained for the marathon.
Dash to the finish. I registered for it. Should I do it? Should I just walk it? What would you recommend?
You're a marathon as well? I'm assuming, yeah. So Dash to the Finish is a really fun event. It's sold out, unfortunately, for those who can't get in. But to your question, if you're doing both, I recommend you can run it. And once again, I talked about shakeout run. So that can be a shakeout run. It's not slower than long run. It's going to be let's go see New York City, run, walk, or run it slowly, run with a friend. Enjoy that, but we're not racing that, of course. Think of it as a shakeout run. Just another 3 miles that we were going to do that during that week.
Thank you, Steve. Question in the back. Yep.
In terms of diet, the day before or the week before, is there anything that you recommend to eat or to avoid?
Yeah, so as far as diet and what to eat, what to avoid, just nothing new. What are you used to? What did you have before your long run last weekend? What did you have before the long run week before that? Stick to what you've done, even from now till 26.2 miles. Nothing new. If you've never had a burrito before a long run, don't go to the Mexican place down the street before the marathon. Not even the week before. Keep it all. If it's boring, that's a good sign. When it comes to clothing, food, nutrition, if it's boring, that means, okay, I've had this many times before. I know it's going to work. This bowl of rice is going to work. So think of nothing. You're not changing anything from here on out because you know it's going to work. There's no superfood that's going to help you go faster or farther. I wish there was.
Let's go with a question online, and then we'll come back to the audience.
We've got a lot of love online for you guys. Fantastic job. Okay, I know Steve lives in Jersey, but Joe, this question's coming your way. We have a lot of people asking about transportation from MetLife. Someone asked, will it take the same amount of time from here? So kind of go into that transportation from MetLife and also people who may be taking cars over, what they could expect in road closures in that area.
Yeah, those are very good questions. So there are also buses for our runners that are coming from Jersey, if they live there, if they're staying there. It's a good option. We have buses leaving from the Meadowlands, also known as Giant Stadium, also known as Jet Stadium. Not really known as Jet Stadium, but I know it as Jet Stadium. You can take a bus from the Meadowlands. I want to say it takes about an hour, that bus. If you're in Manhattan, I wouldn't recommend taking the buses from MetLife. I think the ferry or the Midtown buses are a better option. You'd have to go all the way to the GW, all the way. It's going to take you a while to get to MetLife from Manhattan. But if you're in Jersey, it's a great option, and it drops you off in the same place that the buses drop you off for people who took the Staten Island ferry. So it gets you right up to the Start Village, same exact experience. So yeah, if you're in Jersey, the MetLife buses are a great option. Some people will also selected, I have my own transportation. That means you're taking a private vehicle, likely a taxi. you're almost definitely going to go across the Verrazano Bridge, which is going to give you a straight shot right next to where the start village is located, because we start on the Verrazano Bridge on the other side of, right when you get to Staten Island, right? So if you're doing that, the bridge closes at 7 a.m. So this is important. This is, if you're doing I have my own transportation, this is the note to write down. The bridge starts at 7 a.m. I would recommend maybe getting clear of it at 6:30. So if you're taking a cab, your driver has a chance to get back to the city and pick up a few more fares. Obviously, that's not your personal responsibility, but make sure you're clear of that bridge at 7 a.m. You don't want to be on the bridge at 7 a.m. when we're starting to close it. So that's your option there. Hopefully that answers the question.
And Joe, when you're in Jersey, it's people can't park there, right? It's just drop off only to get on that
It's a
bus,
drop
correct?
off, yes.
Thank you. Great question. Coach Ben?
Yeah, I've got a couple more questions about transportation, Joe. Someone's asking about a ferry at 34th Street. I know there's some information out there. Can you be clear on where runners need to be picking up their transportation in conjunction with that area?
So for most people, if you're a general runner, your options are the Staten Island Ferry, the Midtown bus, or the New Jersey bus, which leaves from the Meadowlands. The ferry that leaves from 34th Street is specifically for runners that are running as a part of Team for Kids. So that means they fundraised for the Team for Kids charity. If you did that, you'll know. It's also for some of our international runners. They run through what's called an international tour operator. So we partner with different tour groups in different countries around the world, and they'll have groups of runners that are coming over here. So if you are eligible to take one of the ferries from 34th Street Midtown, you'll definitely know it. There's also a bus for VIP runners. There's a bus for another charity called Fred's Team. If you're on any of those transportation options, you'll know it. So if no one's communicated those transportation options as a possibility for you, then they're not eligible for you.
I'll come right back to you. Roads from New Jersey to Staten Island, not necessarily over the Verrazano, but from other points of New Jersey, what kind of road closures should runners expect, or do we know about that information, Joe?
Good question. I don't know for sure. I don't think you're running into any road closures in Jersey. I think there'll be a lot of traffic after the race starts because things coming to Manhattan are closed, such as the Verrazano Bridge. But ahead of the race, I'm not aware of any road closures. If there is something, we'll make sure we get it posted on the website. So check the website tomorrow and we'll get something up there if there is.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions from the audience here.
This is a question more about pre-race day fueling. Since, we are looking at like 90 minutes, if you're in a later wave especially, any thoughts on like when is the best time to sort of fill up that store before you go running?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. A lot of us will wait on Staten Island. A lot of us wait on Staten Island for a long time. So make sure you're bringing food that's portable. So it's bagels, it's rolls, something like that. I sell all my. It's kind of an answer. It depends. It really depends on your gut, your system. But the general rule of thumb I tell is last solids about an hour and a half to 2 hours before you start running. So if you're running at 11:30, count backwards. Liquids, I just say 90 minutes for me because then I don't go to the bathroom and I go to the bathroom and then I start drinking during the run. That's just works for me. So once again, stuff that's portable. You can do if you've done energy gels before your long run, then you know that gel is going to sit with you. You can do that obviously closer than 2 hours because that's not going to digest a little differently. So think of that as kind of a target.
So you, Coach Steve, you mentioned, if somebody has to go to the bathroom, and I just realized a lot of runners are running for the first time. We have porta potties at the start. Joe, what is available on the course?
As far as
porta potties.
Yeah, there's porta potties on the course. I'm not sure specifically which miles, but there's definitely porta potties out there pretty regularly. I know when you come over the Queensboro Bridge, there's a whole row of them. So when you first enter Manhattan from Queens, which is mile 16, mile 17, there's a whole row of porta potties there. So that's a little more than halfway through the race if you're needing them. But
that's the only ones out there. No,
yeah, there's plenty of porta potties. Like don't stress that. Don't worry about that. There's plenty of porta potties out there. That should not be an issue anyone runs into.
Okay, thank you. Coach Ben, I think we have another one from the audience here.
Just two things. First is, what's the deal with switching the color to pink with the villages from green?
Oh. Yeah, I think it was just
Barbie, but no, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Oh,
The
the
success
second-
we're trying to ride the Barbie wave.
The second is just, I'm a Staten Islander. There is a ferry. It's a pay ferry. It's on it's 39th Street in Battery Park City. It's a far west side of Manhattan. And it's every half an hour. So if somebody happened to live over there, they could do that.
Okay, I'm unaware if that would get you to the bus system that we have set up. Okay, I would advise against that. I would stick to the set transportation options that we have. That way there's no confusion, no potential for a locked door or a locked gate or something like that. But yeah, you can look into those various things. Generally, if you select I have my own transportation, the advice is taking a car over the Verrazano Bridge. So I would say stick to the official transportation. But thank you, yep.
Yeah, we got plenty of questions online. Don't worry. I'll be here till 10:30 with questions online, folks. So, Joe, in terms of if anybody needs to change transportation, baggage changes, what's the best advice you can give to runners right now on what they should be doing with that?
Right now, there's nothing you can do between now and the expo. When you get to the expo, it will be based on availability. So we will get you on the best available option based on your start time. So my advice would be come see the runner support desk, come see the transportation desk pretty much right when you get there, and we'll help you as best as we can. There's a lot of people running. There's a lot of people getting on the transportation, so it will be based on what's available, but we will get everybody to the start line.
Any more questions?
Hi, I forgot. You know this thing? Can I bring this to the marathon? My pack? Or is it too big?
So we allow waist belts with water bottles, clothes bags like that. I couldn't really see it great. Yeah, that will be fine. Yeah, like the only thing we prohibit is bladders in a camelback style backpack. We want the water bottles to be clear so that you can see them. Like waist belts, usually it's with the water bottles on there. Something like that, a little fanny pack or something is okay. Yeah, that's okay.
So just for those who couldn't see online, it was like a little black fanny pack that's pretty small that you can hold on the side. It's something that definitely, if you have questions, check our online website for those online to see what's allowed and not allowed. There are some deviants of what's not. That's why you had to look at it to make sure. So check the size and stuff like that on the website. We're not totally in charge of what's allowed, not allowed, but it looks like that should be fine.
Yeah, there's information about everything on our website. It's incredibly thorough. But yeah, thanks for showing us that. Something small like that is okay.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions online?
Yeah. Can runners, like if they didn't select bag check, are they still going to be under the same rules? If there's available, they'll be able to, or will there be an option for runners who did not check a bag but now want to? What options maybe or will they have?
Yeah, it's all based on availability. So what I can say is all the bibs for the race have been printed. That's why we can't make changes between now and the expo. So printing, 50, 60,000 bibs is a lot. So anything that's in the system now is on your bib. Come see us at the runner support desk, and we'll make sure we assist you as best as we can based on what's available. At this point, it's tough to make promises or guarantees, but come see the runner support desk, and we'll be able to help you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience here?
I got one for Coach Steve if he's ready to answer it. I got one in front. I'm coming up. I'm coming.
I looked at my confirmation thing, and the selected pace is unrealistically good. I mean, I hope to make it, but I'm thinking not. What are the options for moving backwards?
So that's a great question, actually. you can always move back. So if you feel like it placed you faster than you can go, you can always move back. The reason why we place people where we do is for the safety of everybody out there. We want you running with people that are close to your own pace. If we have people way faster, way slower, you run the risk of a collision. You run the risk of people trying to swerve around you, crashing into other people. So that's why we place everybody based on pace. It's a safety thing. So if you maybe entered a pace in when you were registering, you didn't realize, it could have pulled the best pace from a race. Maybe you had the race of your life in a 5K or something like that. You're not sure if you can bring that all the way up to a marathon. So if you're feeling like that, you can move back. And this question comes up a lot when people are trying to run with a friend or a family member. They'll say, oh, I want to run with my family member. I want to run with my friend. I'm wave 2, they're wave 3. Always move back to the bib that has the higher number. So the bibs go up in number as they go up in pace. So if you're bib number 100, bib number 101 is slightly slower than you. Bib number 102 is slightly slower than them. So if you're in a group of 3 or 4 or something like that, and you're like, oh, we all want to run together, whoever's bib has the highest number, that's the color, that's the corral, that's the wave that you're going in, if that makes sense.
So just a quick follow-up. So would that mean possibly having to change waves or change start
If you're going
times,
back, you don't have to change anything.
Okay.
If you're trying to move forward because that becomes a safety issue, you need to come see us at the runner support desk. If you're moving back, it's no questions asked. If your bib says wave 1 and you want to go wave 5, totally fine.
Thank you. And I think Coach Ben has a question for Coach Steve.
Coach Steve, we do. So, Pace Team. How do I sign up for that? What do I get involved? We had some questions about that online. How can they help us out on race day?
Yeah, the pace teams are some of the best runners in New York City, and that means they're the best runners in the world. These are men and women that have run this race more times than all of us in this room combined. They're experts at this course. So we only bring on the best for New York City. These are the A pacers out there. Their goal is to get you to the finish line in a goal time. So with the misconception about the pace team is they're not going to run every mile the same. They're not metronomes. We're all not metronomes. So they're going to run this marathon by effort. So I'm actually a 4-hour pacer, 9:09 per mile. I'm not running that out the whole race. That would kill me. First mile might be 9:30, 9:35, 9:40. I actually don't look at my watch until mile 3 after the Verrazano Bridge. I figured, okay, I'm off by X time. I'm going to gradually catch up to that. Most pacers will follow that philosophy. A 3-hour pacer will pace different than a 6-hour pacer. So you always talk to your pacer beforehand. We do have almost all pacers are in almost all corrals. I think we're missing about 5 or 6 corrals. So you can check the website to see if the pacer's in your corral. So you can stay with them. You don't need to be right next to them. They're gonna in the start corrals, they're gonna have a huge sign they're gonna carry. They're gonna drop that once you kind of start running and carry a smaller stick the whole way. You could be 10 feet back and still see the sign on First Avenue. You don't even next to them, but it's kind of a good way to forget about the pace. And all you have to focus on is nutrition, hydration, enjoying the course, focusing on your body, your breathing. So if you're looking for a goal time or just people to run around that is your pace or have a conversation, it's kind of a good way to get there. These pacers have a 96% success rate at the New York City Marathon to hit that goal time. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for that, you can always move back if the pacer's behind you. You want to run at 4 hours, but you're at 350, you can move back to that 4-hour pacer without calling Joe up and having to move your bib. So just move back if you need to. The pacer, the best in the world for the New York City Marathon.
And Coach Steve is not saying that because he oversees the pace team. I believe we are at time. Do we have any other questions, Coach Ben, that we need to address right now?
I think we've all talked about the runners. If Joe, I don't know if you know this, but I have one more. Do we know when the app is going to be available online? I know the website says later in October. Have you had any other updates? Because again, we want all of our family members to find all the runners here and track them on race day.
It'll be ready very soon. Just keep checking the website, keep checking our social media. We will announce it far and wide when it's ready, and it should be ready soon, is what I can say.
Awesome. Okay, folks, so we want to be respectful and mindful of your time. Thank you so very much for joining us for today's expert panel. I also want to give a big shout out to, specifically for today's panel, I want to give a shout out to Joe and Coach Steve and Coach Ben, AJ, who's been making sure the live stream is going well and the video that will go up on YouTube, our colleagues and staff at the Run Center who are always very gracious when we host these panels. Every single panelist that has come on for this 5-part series, you can go back on YouTube and view any of the videos if you would like. These folks are here if you want to ask them any questions. Congratulations to all of you for all the training that you've done leading into this. Best of luck, and we will see you out on the course.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Selman.